Haynes, and I am a dance teacher here in OKC, and I am also a teaching artist for Arts Council OKC. And today I am joined by Paige Fischer, and we're going to talk a little bit today about different games you can play with your students as a dance instructor and introduce them to improvisational movement. So welcome, Paige.
Thanks.
We're so glad to have you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So Paige, tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you originally from OKC?
I am not. I'm from Wichita Falls, Texas, just 2 hours south.
Yeah, not too far.
Not too far. I moved up to Oklahoma, Edmond first for dance performance education at UCO.
Awesome.
And I got married during my time in college and just stuck around.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great area.
It is.
So when did you start dancing?
I started dancing at 8 years old, a little bit older than I feel people usually start, but I did gymnastics before and
Oh, that's perfect.
it stuck. That was my thing.
Yeah.
Sports kind of came and went, but
Why do you think dance instead of gymnastics? What caused the switch?
I was too afraid of backflips. Going upside down. Back handsprings were where I stopped.
Oh, I got you.
And this is a funny story, but I remember being on like the spring floor, and they'd just play music in the background, and I would just get lost dancing. And they'd have to be like, Paige, come on, over here. We're practicing our
next skill.
And I would just be like, la la la. And I remember telling my mom that I loved gymnastics, but I wanted to do gymnastics with music. So she took that and was like, okay, I guess we could try dance.
Yeah.
And so walked into a dance class, did the splits like as soon as I walked into the room, and everybody was like,
That's so cute.
Probably showing off a little bit.
It's okay. So what was your favorite style to study growing up? Did you have a favorite, or did you study a lot of different styles?
I started in jazz and tap, just as like my introductory course, and then I added ballet after that, just because you hear your director say, if you want to go further in dance, you should always have ballet training. And then after that, I was introduced to hip hop, and then lyrical, and then we actually had some older alumni that went off to study dance in college, learned modern, and then brought it back to the studio as instructors. So I was actually really lucky to start modern at 8th grade.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I had a lot of my basics down before I got to UCO, which was really beneficial for me. So growing up, I'd say jazz was probably my favorite style up until high school, and then I really enjoyed modern and contemporary after that. And that is why I chose UCO for my schooling, just because of the large emphasis on modern.
So what was your transition going from like being a senior in high school and deciding to go to college? What was like kind of the thought process? Because I know I've got several up-and-coming juniors and seniors that are trying to figure out what they want to do after they graduate. So what made you decide to study dance in college?
I think it helped having a few older students that have gone before me that also went to university. So a couple of them went to UNT in North Texas to study modern, and then actually a couple went to OCU here. And I was kind of torn in the middle of like, do I want to kind of go the Broadway baby route? Do I want to study more modern? And I had visited some schools. I auditioned at OCU, I auditioned at other places, and UCO just felt like the best fit. And I think for around that time, junior, senior year, kind of knew my body and what shape my body was taking into, where I felt really strong dancing, and I always felt really strong and beautiful when I was dancing modern and contemporary, which I still love jazz and musical theater to this day, but it was just the vibe that I was that I felt like I was drawn to. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I haven't regretted it. So
yeah, fantastic.
Teaching modern and contemporary.
Yeah,
those are my favorite to teach as well.
Yeah, I love that. And so speaking of teaching, how did you get into teaching? Was that something you knew you always wanted to do eventually, or did it kind of sneak up on you?
I mean, I hate the saying that those who can't do teach, because I feel like that's
some of the best dancers that I've ever known have all been teachers.
But I was definitely told that growing up, and so I did major in dance performance. But I think every dance performance major knows, like, I'm probably going to teach at some point, because that's where you make, that's where you can kind of have a living. Unless
Yes.
you're auditioning all the time, or you move to Chicago, or you
It's
move to
steady source of
LA
income
or
for
New York.
sure.
Yeah, and I had gotten married in college,
Uh-huh.
so I knew that I was gonna be in Oklahoma City, and I did perform for a while after school, but
Because you danced with Perpetual Motion,
I was
right?
with Perpetual Motion for
Awesome.
2.5 years or so.
Awesome.
And that was great. But I found myself, I was already teaching at the time, but I found myself being really spread thin creatively, to this point of burnout almost, where I was like, okay, I'm choreographing for the company, I'm teaching for the company, I'm dancing for the company, and I'm teaching at my job. What is it that I feel really drawn to? What do I want to grow more into? And for me, that was teaching and choreographing at the time. So I left the company, which I miss performing, but at the time I had a friend that was opening up a studio, and it felt like good timing to join her there, and I've been there this is my 5th year. So.
And what studio are you teaching at? You can tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, I teach at Sweet Yield Studio. We are.
It's just down the street.
Yeah, downtown here in the Arts District. My director, her name is Hannah Ashford, and we met through a mutual friend. We instead of calling ourselves a dance studio, we like to say that we are a creativity and movement studio. We do not have competition dance. We just focus on our classes and instilling creativity and good ideas in our students. So
yeah. You should really check out their Instagram, Sweet Yield's Instagram. It's just so lovely. I love it. I love all the content that y'all create and like your mindset for the studio. I think it's just something really special.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, that's definitely the word. It's really refreshing to see in a studio.
Yeah, it feels different, and I didn't dance competition growing up, and so it's nice being a part of an environment that feels similar.
Yeah, it feels like home.
So.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about yourself. Let's start talking a little bit about some improvisation games, because I know for me, when I first started teaching, improv games was kind of like the filler thing that you did like right at the end of class, like, oh, we have a couple minutes, let's like turn on a song and do some freeze dance.
Right.
But that gets old really quick, but also I feel like it's really like cutting short what improvisation can be for students in the classroom, because there's so much more to it than just turn on a song and dance around and then stop when the music stops.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about some of the things that you like to do with your students.
Sure. We also do freeze dance. Always
freeze dance is great.
Kids
not
love
hating
it.
on freeze dance, but what else can we do?
I want to first say that I also teach adults, and teaching adults can feel very different than teaching kids.
Absolutely.
Kids are down. They're down to try things. And when you teach an adult and you're telling them, hey, let's move like we're in water, or hey, we're just going to improv, that can be a little scary or intimidating at first.
Yeah.
And so it was actually in my adult class that I started thinking through and breaking down, like, how can I make improv feel like an exploratory time, or a time to research different movement rather than it being performative, or like, I'm just going to do what I know looks good on my body, or what I know I can do. Because I think kids like to do turns and flips and cartwheels, and
yes,
and they love that, but adults, not so much. So it was in my adult class that I started kind of creating some of these games and exercises, and then I would then try it on my high schoolers, and then I would kind of see how young I could go with these more abstract ideas. And I like to play a lot with imagery. So one of my favorite exercises that I do is talking about the elements. So earth, air, fire, and water. All of those things kids can really capture in their minds as an image.
Do you get some Avatar fans?
Oh yeah, and I actually watched Avatar also, and I'm a big nerd about Avatar, so I usually start the conversation with, have you guys seen Avatar? Are you an earthbender? Are you a firebender? What would that look like on your body? And even if that's as far as we go, like they understand fire, water, earth, air, and already in those 4 movements, those looked very different in their energy and in their levels. And then when you get into maybe a little older age group, you can start talking about how that movement quality even feels different in your body. Is it bound? Is it free? Is it
pulling weighted into it? I love it.
Is it quick? Is it slow? And getting into some of those. And some of those conversations, which is really cool. And adults too, they love it. It feels like play rather than this very vulnerable thing that you're doing, which it is vulnerable to move and do improv in a space with a group of adults. But I found that to be really helpful. Just imagery, thinking of how you can create games with different images. And then another one that I do that is a little more interactive is a magic ball exercise. And I learned this one from my director, who learned it at a dance convention from somebody else, but it's a staple at our studio. And it's pretty simple. One person starts with a ball. Your ball can grow and shrink. It can change form, and you just can move with your ball any way you'd like to. And then when you're finished moving, you pass it or throw it or toss it or hacky sack it, however you want to the next friend, and then they catch it.
And then they can use it.
And then it's their turn.
Yeah.
A lot of times a kid will grab a ball and they'll be like, I don't know what to do. And it's okay. You can think about it. No rush. How do you normally move a ball? Do you bounce it? Do you throw it? Catch it? And even if they play with it for 3 seconds and then they give it to the next person, they at least tried something. So that's pretty fun. And then I took this exercise, I've done it a few times, and I kind of added a layer on top of it. And I love having it where everybody starts with a ball, or really any object that they want to. And you can manipulate, and it can change form. You can dance with your object. If it's a book, if it's a ribbon, it looks very different on your body. Somewhere in your movement, your object transforms, and you might have like a story in mind of like how it transforms, which is also really special, having a story in mind when you're creating movement. And then once it changes form, so maybe it's a ribbon, and then it goes to a pencil. And then you might have a book that transforms to a fan. Sam and I would then exchange objects. So I'm given a fan, she's given a pencil, and then we do the same process again. So now I have a fan. How does a fan move? What do I do with a fan? What's the function of a fan? And then now it can transform into a towel, maybe. How do I move a towel? What do I use a towel for? And what story does that, what story can that create? And how does that look on my body? And then so on and so forth. You can do like 5 or 10 rounds of that. And at the end, it's really fun to see if you can remember all the objects that you were given, what it transformed to, what you gave away, because you'll
that's fun. I started with a pencil, and then I was given a fan, and then it turned into a towel, and then I was given a... that's
kind of hard to keep track.
That's a great brain game.
I was given a cookie from somewhere. But what did you have before? And then it kind of creates this cool discussion and dialogue between all the students. So.
I love that. It's so grounded in like reality because of the objects. Then it can become and like grounds them in like their everyday world, but then it also can like open the window up to exploring so many different things. And I love the idea of like storytelling. Sometimes improvisation can get so abstract so quickly, especially with the older students. So then they can take that abstractness
thing,
but then also ground it. I love that. That's so cool.
Because you can even, it has like a very pedestrian purpose and pedestrian value, but you can abstract that as much as you'd like.
As much as you're
comfortable. You can always bring it back down to what its original purpose is for.
So then if you have someone who's like, oh, I don't know about, okay, I know how to write with a pencil, I can do that. And
now I can write on my leg.
Yeah.
Or on the floor.
Yeah.
Or in the air.
Yeah, and it can quickly like take off. I love that. Do you let the kids pick out objects too?
Yeah.
What's like the craziest object a kid has come up with?
So actually, one of the craziest was an adult, which was hilarious to me because I think they were just having so much fun with it. But at the end, when we were talking about all the things that we had moved through, one of my friends was just she was just standing like this. And I was like, okay, I'm really excited to hear what this object is. We're going around like, I had a blueberry, I had a phone, I had this and this. She goes, well, I ended up with a horse. And just like that, she was like,
I'm just holding the lead rope of a horse.
And my horse started out as, I can't remember what it started out as, but she was still in character. Like, she was still holding her horse. And then, one kid started out with a blueberry, and I thought that was just very simple and quaint. And I was like, man, a blueberry.
A blueberry.
Just a blueberry.
That's so specific, too. Not just fruit.
She's like, my favorite fruit is a blueberry, so I'll just start with a blueberry. It's like, okay.
I love that so much.
It's been fun. I love doing it with all ages. I think it's a good activity. I think abstraction is hard for little kids, but that original purpose. Like, what do you do with this is still really simple. And then the older they get, then you can build abstraction on top of that. Introduce, how can you expand this to be something else than what it was originally for.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you want to maybe try out an improv game
Yeah,
so that
sure.
people can see? I feel like we've already been playing a little
Yeah.
bit with just our
We
hands.
can do it in the space.
But do you think we could maybe do it
Exchange
with some
back and
music and
forth.
do a little exchange?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
What are you going to start with?
I'm going to start with a spoon.
Okay, I'm gonna start with a frisbee. So we're gonna dance with it for a second and then we'll switch.
Okay.
Transform your object in the middle of your improv. And switch. This is a ribbon.
This is, I give you a flower.
A flower. Okay. And switch. Pencil.
This is a glass of milk.
Glass of milk. Nice. And find a way to finish with your object. Nice. What did you end up with?
Oh, it was still a
It
pencil.
was still a
Didn't swim.
I turned my glass of milk, poured it on my head.
I
and
saw you pouring
turned
on your
it-
head. I was like, what is she
Turned
doing?
it into a cape.
Ooh, I love it.
So yeah, it's a little quick version of what I do with my students.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.